Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And it's Thursday, it's July the 12th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And believe it or not, another week's already gone by. It seemed like I just got back from vacation and we've already had a week's trading. So it just seemed like the weeks are passing by quickly. We had a nice uptrend today, so that was great. Uh, we still had a good bit of time where we were working sideways here, but this still had an upward bias. There was a real steep trend here with a break and a close. But once we had these two swings here, if you drew your line off and drug it up, it seemed to fit, and then the midline seemed to fit. So, really by 9 o'clock, you probably should have been assuming this channel is a possibility. You didn't get it confirmed until here, but once it bounced here, that kind of confirms it. We got a break fairly quickly thereafter, and then there's actually, I didn't measure them, but I'm betting these is just eyeballing it. Looks like it's really close to two measured legs up to a new high, and you can see that. We might have missed it by a tick or two. Actually, before the day was over, we got there. Actually, that may be dead on. It may be a little short by a tick. And so you got two legs up to a measured move, and then it kind of sold off and went sideways after that. But we're really going sideways in here. There's a nice little run up here. I don't see a really easy or a good way to get into that trade other than the fact that you've got to close outside the new low and you're a good bit away from the EMA, but generally you want to wait on that higher low, and we never get one. It just takes off. So you actually get one way up here somewhere. And you don't want to be chasing a trade way up here because it can turn on you quickly, and next thing you know, you're in trouble. So, needless to say, you might take this trade if you want to be a little aggressive, but for the most part, you just have to kind of watch that move go. But other than that move up and the move down, we were relatively sideways here for a good bit before we pushed on higher again. But there is a bigger channel there, and there's some shorter turns. I looked at this one right here, the real light channel moving up there, but it looked like it was going to confirm it, and it never did. So I don't think it was in play. I believe this was the play, and then it moved to a new high. But let me back out. We'll talk about the trades, and we'll wrap up the week. When I came in, we were basically we were moving sideways above the end. We had this channel working up. We had a close outside. We had a couple legs up. We were just kind of going sideways. So you had to be concerned about going long without room to scalp out. And really, you're looking for probably a reason to get short because we're probably going to at least correct for a little bit. And so you just got to sit tight until you got a small bar here, and you really want room to scalp out. And you really could have called this down here because you had more touches and closes, but I moved it up as we got those closes. And so I ended up having it right there. So it doesn't really matter. The only thing that might change is that you may have said, hey, I don't have enough room to get out here. And that might have scared you off this one, but notice the two legs up, then one more little push and a lower high, and that's what you're looking for. And this one takes off. You don't know it's going to take off like that, but it does. And then you had a failed second entry long right here. There's a new high, first entry, and then you pull back in second entry. And that's a relatively bearish bar. It's a little breakout pullback short. It pushes through the EMA. I made this one green just simply because you've got a true doji here, and then this one didn't close on its very low. So it has a little bit of a feel like it may go into congestion, but we never get that third bar. It just keeps going lower. But then you can count this as a new high because there's really two swings in there. And so this is definitely underneath the EMA, pulls back, and it actually goes higher and goes out the other side. You can treat that like a sure failed second entry long and take that trade. And you don't know where prices are heading at this point, but you're going to play that confirmed trend line right there, and you can see everything closing inside of it, and this one takes on off. You get a little small correction here, but you're away from the EMA, relatively neutral bar. Would have worked, but it's just not a good setup. You got to skip that one. Unless you had a really good signal bar here, you might take it. So then we bounce here. Like I said, you do get a close outside here finally, a convincing close outside, a move to a new low. You're long, I wouldn't say you're a long way, but you're away from the EMA and you've been away for maybe 15 or 20 minutes or so. So it's time for a little pullback at the very minimum. And of course, I would draw that trend line right off those three, especially originally I would have drawn it steeper like this, but once you get this one, you draw it off this one, and it does come back and confirm it later. So, uh, but if you don't take this one, I don't see any way to get in this trade. You definitely don't want to enter way back up here. You see what happens. It goes a little higher and then corrects. But notice what happens. You pull back, you get a first entry, and you pull back, you get a second entry right here. And this is a relatively bullish bar. Really, you could have entered when it broke above that one, but you could have let it break up. You could have had your buy stop above this one too. It's a relatively large bar there. Let me just see. It's not humongous, but I mean there are 9 ticks in that, so you're not going to be able to get in that with your 2-tick rule. So you're pressing it a little bit there, or 2-point rule. So you're pressing it a little bit there. It takes off relatively quickly. I was hoping we would get a measured leg like this one and go all the way back up to the highs, but that just didn't happen. We struggled to go higher right here. There's a lot of resistance across here. And that's what you got to be careful of. But notice we got a lower high here, but it's right into the EMA, and it looks like we may bounce here. You can't go long. It's too neutral of a bar, and you've got a trend line working there. And so when it does break higher and turns back down, you probably want to take that for a short, because I guarantee there's going to be some trap people there. And this thing drops straight down. And you actually get a close outside and a new low. And this looks a lot like this over here. And this is not a perfect bar. It is a bullish bar. It's not perfect, but you could look at this. Notice you had a low right there, and then you tested it once, you tested it twice, 3 times. But even if you just count that one, it's a double test right there, and it's a little drop lower. So I like going long there, hoping you catch that next move. Again, you don't get a big runner. You get a nice quick move, but you don't get a big runner. And notice how we're just kind of going sideways again here. But we come back and we bounce. You don't really get a setup here. I'd wait on a higher low off of this. Notice how you got a doji. That's basically a doji. If anything else, if nothing else, it's a very bearish bar, another very bearish bar, and then a bullish bar, and then an inside bar. You just got too much congestion there. Of course, it breaks higher and turns down. I definitely wouldn't take that trade, but when you make that higher low and get that nice bullish bar and you're back inside the main channel, I like going long there. And this turns out to be a pretty good move. You get a runner here, runs up, you get a close outside, move to a new high, and then it tanks again. It's tempting to want to go long here, but you've already had a close outside, and we do have a new high in place. But this is you probably can look at this as all as one move, so you may get another move up. So if you get a higher low, which comes here, then you may take it. And even though it didn't break lower, you got the 2-bar matching high, and so that's still a lower high right there. You consider that a lower high, so you can enter right there. You got plenty of room to get out. And this one takes off relatively nicely. And again, I would be looking for that measured move, and you saw that we got it within a tick when I showed you that trade a minute ago. And so now you've got a close outside, 2 legs to a new high. You got to be really careful getting long at this point. So you got a second entry long here. You might have entered here, but I'm with you already having a clear, very convincing and clear close outside the trend line and 2 measured legs up, I'm probably not going to take that one. You could argue for it. It would have worked, but it's getting risky to go long now. It comes back and you get another bounce, but this bar is just, it's relatively bullish, but it's just not a perfect one. There's 2 or 3 ticks there, so I'd skip that one. Again, it would have worked, but I don't think it's worth the risk. And when it gives you that bearish bar and turns down right there, I'd probably go short. Notice how it skipped right over the trend line. You see that a lot. That's usually a good sign that your trend line's in the right place. And I'd probably take that one. It's still a little aggressive because it's right into that trend line and right into the EMA, but we've tried to go higher 1, 2, 3, 4 different times, and we're making lower highs here. I'd be willing to take that one. And then we just get stuck in this sideways channel, and you really got a downward bias. I don't see anything in here I'd want to buy, but there's no sale set up at all. And so you do get a little failed breakout here that would have worked, and a little failed break lower that would have worked, but that's after 2 o'clock. So I just don't see anything. There's too much congestion there. It's too tight. And you've already had a little overshoot on the channel right here, so you'd want to be back to this trend line before you considered entering, and we don't do that till after 2 o'clock. So, or at least a failed break higher or something, a really nice bar right along the top of this, and you just don't get it. So, so that was it for today. Not a bad day, not a lot of entries today, kind of quiet really. You just really had to hope that you could catch 1 or 2 of these longs and make a run out of it. There's a couple of them here that you could have gotten several points out of. This would have been the trade of the day if you caught it. It was a little bit aggressive, but you never got a higher low to get on board with it till way up here, and then we came back. And so, but if you caught this one, you'd have caught a runner and you could have written that whole thing up. So anyway, that's what I saw today. I hope you had a good week. Hope you had a good trading day. But I'm going to wrap it up and call it a week, and we'll be back again to do it Monday, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.